Welcome back to Booktalks Podcast. This is Kayla,
And Marissa,
and this week we read The Maid by Nina Prose.
Nita
Did I
Prose.
say it? Yes. Um, I liked it. I did not love it.
Yeah, same. I mean, we're late to the train on this one, right? It's been out for a little bit.
Yeah, so
So,
I picked this one is because I looked at the best mystery and thrillers of last year, and this was like, I think this one won.
yeah, like I've definitely heard good things about this one. I didn't know anything about it going into it. So, like, I had no expectations, and I didn't even know it was considered a thriller until you put it in our thriller category. And I was like, oh, I just assumed it was like fantasy or something. I don't know. I don't know why. The cover just didn't look like a thriller cover to me. But I mean, I liked it. I think it was fine. I definitely want to talk about the ending because I thought it was over when I still had 2 hours left to listen to it. So I was just a little confused. It felt like a really extended epilogue, which like on the one hand was good. It wrapped everything up. Like, I don't know, but then the actual epilogue, I mean, we texted today, they introduced a random character, and I was like, what?
Yeah, I felt like they said this actually on the Good Morning America interview. It was like a happy ever after like mystery. And I guess I'm just not used to like mystery books wrapping up like this.
Yeah.
I'm used to just like some vague ending and like we don't know what happens. Like I didn't need like they go off into the sunset. Um, I am curious. I think she probably did this because she wrote a sequel to this book, and Molly the Maid is the also the lead character in that book as well. So I'm
Okay.
assuming maybe she just wanted to start like a maid Sherlock Holmes like kind of like vibe where she's gonna just keep going in this hotel where they just keep solving murders. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna read the next one. I guess we should give a spoiler warning before we dive into it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to spoil everything.
Yeah, I also didn't know anything going into this book. I knew it was about a maid because that was like kind of obvious. Also, fun fact about the author. So she used to work with special ed kids. And
Okay.
that is why she wrote Molly the way she is. She thought that like when she take her kids out, she saw that they were like kind of disrespected and like overlooked.
Yeah.
And she wanted to bring that into Molly's character. Because I
Yeah.
was curious at her angle there. It was a very interesting narration. I feel like I've never read a book like that.
Yeah. And like, I think that's probably why it got so much attention and was popular because it is talking about like an underrepresented community. They don't actually say whether Molly is autistic or on the spectrum or whatever, but you can kind of assume she's on the spectrum in some way or another. And I liked her, but it is also very frustrating reading about a character like her because you're like, Molly, it's so obvious. Don't trust Rodney. Like, what are you doing? And, like, you just want to scream at her. But, then I also thought about it. And I'm like, well, we've all been duped by a stupid, charming guy. So, like, it has nothing to do with who she is. It's just like the way of the world. But it was frustrating.
Especially in the first like 100 pages when you like actively saw her like framing herself for murder. Um you're like, please stop. And she
Yeah.
just kept on like everything, every action she did was just like further framing herself. And I was like,
Yeah.
how is she gonna get out of this mess?
When she called Rodney, that's his name, right? Rodney
Yeah.
or something. When she called him and was like, I went and got the gun and like I don't know, she told him some other things, like I forget what it was now, but he was like, oh, she stole the ring. She had stolen the ring and sold it for money. And he's like, don't worry about it, Molly. I'll take care of everything. I just wanted to like throw the book. I was like, this is so I'm like, I'm gonna be sick. Like she has no idea that she has just handed him all the things he needs to set her up. Oh,
That was frustrating. All yeah, and the Mrs. Snow, which is no, who is the one who died? Snow or
Mr. Black.
Mr. Black? Sorry, very basic names. Black Snow,
Black.
honestly, they're different but the same. Mrs. Black, number two.
Number two.
I feel like I was so unsure if she was using Molly or did she actually care about Molly. It was
Yeah.
that parts were hard to read for sure because you just felt bad for her. I also
Yeah.
felt bad when the cops like arrested her because they didn't like give her any grace. Like I feel like obviously she's a little different and they did not even like attempt to like accommodate in any way.
Yeah, no, I hated the cop in this book, and I felt like they didn't listen to her at all. And yeah, like maybe someone should have been there from a special education program who could have like worked with the cops to like handle it differently, but also like maybe it's realistic. Maybe those things really do happen. It reminds me the last book, the last thriller we read, and how in Sherry LaPina's book, The Only One Left. No, that was really Sagers. We Are Liars. The last
Everyone
one.
here is lying.
Everyone here is
Everyone
lying.
is lying or something
Yeah,
like that.
something like that. There was an autistic kid in that one who had the drone, and like every time the cops show up, the mom was just immediately his advocate. You know, like everyone accuses my son of things because he's different, blah blah blah. And Molly didn't have an advocate in this book, and so that was frustrating because like if her grandma had been alive, she would have had someone on her side, but she was going through all this completely alone until Mr. Preston and Charlotte and whatever came to help her. But like it was very frustrating watching her go through it alone because I felt so bad for her. Her grandma died, she swindled out of all her money. She probably didn't murder this guy, and like no one was on her side. Oh,
I was also like whenever she was so quick though to trust Mr. Preston and his daughter, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Can we calm down here? Like she's so quick to trust people. And I'm like,
have you not learned your lesson, Molly Gray?
you got burned not once, but twice. I was like, why are we jumping into this friendship right here?
Yeah. And to what's his name? The dishwasher. Wait, I have a list of characters. Oh, Juan
One,
Manuel.
yes.
Juan Manuel. Him, I didn't trust him at all. And when the book started, I was like, he had weird marks on his hand. He was being super dodgy about where he'd been during the murder. And I was like, oh my gosh, do we know who the murderer is in like the first 10 pages of this book? Like, did Juan Manuel kill this guy? And then he ended up being a good guy, and him and Molly have a thing, which was kind of weird because I imagine Molly as being like very young and all these other people as just being older than her. So like I imagine Juan Manuel is like a 40-year-old. So it was a little weird when they got together.
Yeah, I don't know what age everyone was. I wonder what age. For some reason, I really thought that Mrs. Black number 2 was like Molly's long lost mom,
Oh, that would have been a twist.
but it wasn't. It was her mom was apparently dead. But I don't know why. I just thought like, oh, so weird. She was like befriending her, like me, and like the grandmother said, oh, she'll never come back, or like it would take a lot to bring her back. So I'm like, oh, maybe she just like ran off with a rich man and like was like living her life.
Uh-huh.
um so but no, I was wrong about that. I was like, maybe it is.
I
um
didn't have any thoughts in that direction, but that actually would have been such a good twist because it was weird that her name was Giselle. Giselle, right? Yeah, Giselle took such an interest in Molly. Like everyone else saw her as different, everyone else saw her as a little odd, except for Mr. Preston and Giselle. And there was no reason for Giselle to get to know her. She was just the maid. Like I know this book emphasized how, you know, staff are treated more poorly and all that stuff, but like it's true. If I'm at a hotel, I don't interact with the maid unless like I'm passing them in the hall and I say hi. But Giselle, you know, like did her makeup and gave her gifts. And so I kind of wish she had been the long lost mother just because that would have been a really cool twist. But it wasn't
well, I
meant to
also don't
be.
know how old Giselle is.
Yeah.
So that was like a little mystery there. I just think Giselle, it was a representation of how lonely Giselle was,
Yeah.
that she befriended her maid, her weird maid that no one wants to be friends with. um yeah, no, that was an interesting part. I don't
Yeah.
think towards the end I was like getting done. Like it was a short book, but it
Mhm.
felt very long.
It did. I had a hard time getting into it. Um, which I mean, like there was a murder right at the start. but then I feel like by the time I got into it, I also was thinking it should be over. And then like there was those 2 hours at the end. And I was like, when I looked down and saw I had 2 hours left, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. How are there still 2 hours left? And it's not that it was a bad book. I just like I wasn't that into it. The story was fine, but it wasn't like a twisty, turny thriller novel like what I'm used to. It was a little more heartfelt, a little more like kind of a found family with Mr. Preston and Charlotte and all these like misfits. But not like a thriller kind of.
Yeah, that's why I'm shocked it won the category. I would actually feel
Yeah.
like I consider this more just like regular like contemporary fiction than
Yeah.
a thriller. Um,
That's what I thought it was, like just normal fiction, especially because the cover, I mean, normally thriller covers are dark and like have someone's face half hidden or something. And this was like red with a keyhole. And it just didn't look like a thriller novel.
well, the new cover is just blue with a keyhole.
Very creative.
You must have had a short cover budget. I can make them that cover on Canva right now for free.
That's so funny. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I mean it was somewhat thrilling, but also I don't consider it a thriller. Like I read a lot of thrillers. This was not to me a thriller.
I wasn't concerned or like fearful of anything. I remember when we read the Riley Sager book, I was like actually scared for that nurse girl. I don't even remember her name, but I was like scared for her well-being. Like there are people like walking around in the middle of the night. We didn't know if the girl like in the wheelchair could even walk. Like we didn't know. I was like, what is going on here? There wasn't really any mystery. Like the guy
Yeah.
was dead. Somebody killed him. We don't know who it is. There's like a whole drug cartel going on in the background. And Molly was thought she was cleaning up dust this whole time when it was literally cocaine.
To be honest, I probably wouldn't have known it was cocaine either.
Well, whenever she was in that room with like the two big men with like tattoos and like Rodney and they're like having all these like sayings that are really obvious, I was like, can't you pick up on anything that's a little off?
Well,
Let
and
me
like
get the
the
point.
duffel bags of stuff.
Didn't
Like
she even look in
I thought for sure the thriller part was going to come in, like maybe something would fall out of the duffel bag and she'd be like, oh, something else is going on. And now her life's in danger because like she knows about it. But that didn't happen. She just never looked.
them?
Which
They
I
probably were
mean,
like so mean. They were all just like were laughing behind her back the whole time.
I hate the two guys used her. That she thought she loved two different guys and they both used her. It literally broke my heart.
The bank account thing, that was so mean. He would come
Oh,
over and hang with the grandma.
that was awful. And then the grandma asked about him and oh, I can't believe he took all their money.
What do they call their bank again? I was confused.
The Fabergé? There's something
I don't know what that means.
I've never heard of that word.
Like I don't remember where the book take place. For the longest time, I thought we were like in London because I kept on saying the Fabergé, and then I
Yeah.
realized like I think we're in the U.S.
I absolutely pictured this in London, and the red cover did not help because the red cover put like London vibes in my head, like a red telephone booth or something. I don't know. And I thought we were in London. And then halfway through, I realized no one was talking in a British accent.
I really hated the maid in charge of Molly, whatever her name was. Hated her.
Charlotte, Cheryl.
Why didn't she just get fired? She sucked.
I don't know. Like she did get fired in the end, or not even fired, just demoted. So like, I don't know. Like she was stealing people's tips and she was really mean to Molly. I don't know why she was promoted in the first place because I didn't feel like the hotel owner, Snow or yeah, Snow. I didn't feel like he was a bad person. And I felt like he cared about his staff like, you know, especially in the end, he cared about his staff, but you know, he had hired good people for the most part. I mean, Rodney was a bad egg, obviously. And then Cheryl was a bad egg. So I don't know why she was in charge. I really hated her. And I'm really glad that Molly ended up being the supervisor. Otherwise, I don't think I would have kept working there.
No, definitely. I'm still dying at the whole gun in the vacuum.
I mean, if someone told me to sneak in and get a gun from a murder scene, I would have questions, you know?
I think I would just say no.
Yeah.
I just don't have the guts to do it. And especially she's like a rule follower. That was what confused me about it because she was like such a rule follower, but she was so quick to break these rules for these people.
I agree.
It was very hard to like understand her rationale there.
I was thinking the exact same thing towards the end of the novel, just that, you know, she's so strict about, you know, wiping off her shoes when she comes in the door, and, you know, she has a strict cleaning routine and follows all the rules. And yet, like, the things about just little things like letting what's his face, Juan Manuel, I don't know why I can't say his name, letting him stay and sleeping in grandma's house, whatever. She had said something like, you know, it would be uncomfortable for everyone, but like it was a good solution. And I was thinking, based on what I know about Molly, I just don't feel like if she was uncomfortable with something, she would be so willing to do it. Like, at least for my personality, if I'm uncomfortable with something, I retreat into myself. And as far as I know, I'm not on the spectrum too far. Although maybe I am, because you've said several times that autistic characters remind you of me. So maybe I am a little bit.
Not all the time. I think I wrote a book I even said that about, but there was one character that was a little on the spectrum that reminded me of you. No, I don't think you're on the spectrum, even if you were, but if I make things make me uncomfortable, I don't do it.
Yeah. And I couldn't believe that she took the ring and sold it. That was like a big deal.
Well, I feel like she definitely did that out of desperation, and she like hated him.
Yeah.
That was the kind of Molly that I thought was going to kill him.
That last chapter, okay, the epilogue, the last thing, when she was detailing that again, and she said, I turned around and saw someone in the mirror and it looked a lot like me and Gran holding the pillow. I was like, holy crap, Molly killed him. And it would make sense because she also suffocated her grandma. Like, maybe she got a taste for murder. So like, I was like, holy crap. And then instead it ends with, it was the first Mrs. Black,
who I don't think ever was actually in the story. Like, it was she was referred to a couple times, but she had never been written in the book, a line written in the book until the very end when she was a murderer. It was like the worst crime suspect ever.
I know. And then she was just like, Molly, dear, you won't tell anyone, will you? Like, I just felt like it was such a stupid, weird ending for a decent novel. I've never liked when thriller books, one of the Good Girls Guide to Murder books did it. I think it was the third one, where there was no way to predict the suspect. And I like, we got to the end when the suspect was revealed, and it was like, oh, that person could not have been predicted based on any of the clues because like we didn't know of this person's existence. I feel like the same thing happened here. There was no way we would have suspected the first Mrs. Black, because as far as we knew, she wasn't in the city. Like, she wasn't, like, she was never mentioned coming in or out of the hotel. So yeah, I didn't love that. I would have loved it more if Molly had been the murderer.
For a minute, I thought it was Mr. Preston. Because he mentioned a couple times that he was like Mr. Black was a bad guy, he was a bad egg, like I'm not upset to see him go. Like, things like that. And I was like, imagine if Molly just saw him in the window, like that would have been so juicy.
And he was so sure Molly didn't do it. Like, so sure. So that would have actually been a really good twist.
And he was so willing to have his daughter help Molly because he knew it was like his crime.
Uh-huh. That would have been good. We could have written this really well.
I always think if we wrote a book together, it would be a marvelous romantic thriller.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Someone would die for sure.
Oh yeah, it would definitely. And if it had it your way, it'd be the main love interest.
That's right. No one gets to be happy in the end.
I really feel like this girl is like if I tried to write a thriller, like I made like someone die, but like everyone happy in the end.
No, I mean, that was the thing. The last 2 hours felt like an epilogue, wrapped up the story. Molly and Juan Manuel get together, like they get the bad guy, he goes to prison, and you find out that the person who killed him, like, wasn't really a bad guy. She was just a social justice warrior. And so, like, you're like, okay, happily ever after for everyone, the end.
I think that's probably why. It's probably because it doesn't leave people with like a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
But for us who read a lot of like books and thrillers, I feel unsatisfied a little bit that it wasn't more dramatic.
I also don't think I would like a second book about Molly solving another murder, just because I feel like the one she solved this time was specific to her situation, like, getting roped in by this guy who she kind of liked, and cleaning up the cocaine messes that she didn't know was cocaine and all this stuff. Like, it was so unique. To solve another murder like at the same hotel would just kind of be gimmicky, like, oh, someone else got murdered, hopefully Molly can solve it. Like, she's not a detective, she just happened to be the right person to help solve this murder.
Yeah, I don't know how. Like, part of me is like, oh, I'm curious how it's gonna go. I'd read it, but I also just don't think I'd want to.
Yeah.
I still stand. I think my favorite thrillers were the one we read last year about the school.
It Girl by Ruth Ware.
Yes, loved that one, and I loved Everyone Here Is Lying. No,
The
uh,
Only One Left by Riley.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, the Riley Sager one we read this season. Those are my two favorite thrillers thus far. We have one more. We have The Villa.
The Villa. Oh, I'm excited for that one. I've read a Rachel Hawkins book, and my mom was like not jazzed with it, but I loved it. It was very, I don't know, like just twisty and steamy, and like it was good. It was good. So I hope The Villa is also good.
I feel like that's another one we picked because it was popular, and not because it was newly coming out. So I'm excited for that one as well. Um, but yeah, we tested, we listened to you guys on Goodreads, and we don't know if we agree.
I mean, yeah, so like I haven't rated it on Goodreads yet because I was waiting till we talked about it. Because a lot of times when we talk about things, I'm like, well, crap, I gave that a 4. And really, it's like a 3.2. But I mean, I think this was like a solid 4. Like, it wasn't a bad book. It just, like, in the thriller category, it's not a 4 because it's not a thriller. In the fiction category, like, it's a good book. It's a 4. I don't want to read the second book, but like, it's fine.
What was your take on the writing?
The writing was fine. I mean, obviously she wrote in character for Molly. So like Molly speaks very differently from kind of a casual conversation, the way she talks. What's the thing she says about, I will clean your room to perfection or something like that. I'll restore a state of perfection. Like, every time she said that, I just like would giggle because I'm like, that's so stupid. And then several times she said, Mr. Black was dead in his bed. It was just like, that's so funny. So like I liked that she wrote within the style of the character. And I liked too the part when Charlotte was actually sending a text for Molly, and Juan Manuel looked at it and was like, well, that's not how Molly would talk. And then she fixed it and it sounded so formal, and I was like, there it is.
It does like stay in character pretty much the whole time. Like she really doesn't waver from that. So I think that's really good writing. I feel like it's hard to write in your own voice alone, let alone write in a voice that you don't experience in your head. Like the author has not said she has autism, so I'm assuming she does not process things like she has written. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it was really hard to like write in that point of view. So I give that part kudos. I give it a 3. it just didn't do anything for me. It didn't make me feel good. It didn't make me excited. It didn't make me nervous. It didn't make me sad. I felt nothing.
Yeah, I get that. Honestly, I didn't think any of the characters were really developed beyond what you'd write on a piece of paper. Like Molly was a maid on the spectrum. Juan Manuel was a dishwasher. Like Mr. Preston was the doorman and he cared about Molly. And like, like they aren't developed beyond that surface level what you know about them. So like for that reason, it's not like a 5-star book. I would say for feel good, like it is a feel good in the sense that there's a happily ever after kind of, and you get that like found family trope because Mr. Preston clearly had a thing for Gran, and actually it was implied that he's Molly's grandpa.
Yeah,
It was
I
implied
haven't.
he knocked Gran up.
I thought I had thought that as well.
Yeah, but
Um,
Molly didn't pick up on it, and so I'm like, that's kind of sad. I kind of wish she knew that like she has family, but anyway, I mean, like, so there were some feel good moments. It wasn't an all-star book to me, though. I won't remember it in a month.
I don't even remember the names from the first book,
No,
the first thriller we read.
which thriller was that? I don't
Uh,
even remember what thriller we read this year.
the Riley Sager one. I don't remember the names from that. I just remember they were
Oh, the
like
only one left.
sisters, Nora, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Lenora.
Lenora.
Lenora Hope. Yeah.
No, I'm really bad at remembering names. Even this book, I think I forgot everyone's name except Molly, because Molly it was an easy name to remember.
I have a list of names up on my other screen right now because I finished the book and couldn't remember if his name was Rodney or Radney or Ridney. I was like, it was something with an R.
I think this is being made into something in film.
Hmm.
Because in the interview with Good Morning America, she referenced Florence Pugh playing Molly. Okay, did I
Interesting.
say her name right?
That's not how I pictured Molly at
I picture
all.
Molly being very like petite
Very small.
and like just dark hair, like very pale. And I don't really picture Florence being like that, so I don't really know.
Florence is blonde and not quite as petite as what I would have imagined Molly to be. So that's an interesting casting choice. Now, Florence Pugh is an amazing actress. So I'm sure she can pull it off, but I am surprised because I also pictured her with like brown kind of shoulder length hair.
I'm trying to see look up what it's gonna be. Yeah, not that Florence isn't small, but I like it's referenced many times in the book that Molly faints from like basically not eating.
Yeah.
And she doesn't
Yeah.
have the money to like feed herself. So I feel like I picture her being like almost like too skinny.
Yeah.
It was announced in 2021. I don't think anything has happened since.
Okay.
Are you officially done with TikTok?
Yeah, like I didn't delete the account or anything. I didn't delete the app off my phone because if I do, I'll lose all the drafts that I have. Not that I'll probably ever post them, but I've just like hidden it on my phone and I haven't gotten on since the last video I posted saying I was like taking a hiatus.
I'm
Um,
glad.
yeah, it's been nice not dealing with looking at the comments or worrying about something going viral and how people will take it.
Do you feel like it's helping your mental state?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I've been having fun with the Instagram reels. I haven't posted anything recently, but I was having fun with those just because, like, on Instagram, you can just choose a trending song, take a video of your face, and like write a little piece of text, and like it's fine. It like does whatever. I mean, ours don't get a ton of views, but there's no worry of it actually going viral with that like FYP page. Like anything can go viral there, and you don't know how people will take it, and so like there's no chance of that really with Instagram. Like maybe something will go viral one day, but I doubt it.
We're not that big. I think people are just a little nicer on Instagram. So and I think we can manage probably the comments better if it does happen. No, I ever since I think I'd had TikTok for like 2 months during COVID and then I removed it and never went back because I just feel like getting like doom scrolling so easily and then I just waste like hours. I do that enough on Instagram. I don't need two devices where I do that. So I support
It is
that.
a waste of time.
And we're going full set on the YouTube. We have I think like 6 YouTube videos up, just kind of trying to get our backlogs onto YouTube as well. So we will be there. We will be here. I guess we'll wrap it up. Thanks for listening. This is Kayla.
And Marissa.
You make sure to follow us on Instagram at Booktalks Podcast and YouTube. Have a good night.